Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. I'm unbelievably excited you're here, Natalie. I'm so excited you're here.
Me too.
So backstory, folks, I know Natalie from a speaking training program, and also I had the honor and privilege of actually being one of your clients, Natalie, for a little while. And for me, what has always stood out is that you are very forthright about how you are faith-led and how important that is for everything you conduct your life around. And for this retreat, I want our audience to have every single tool available to them on attaining and reclaiming their sweet life. So just tell us about how you, we know you're Christian, we know that. However, like what role that has played, what it's been like in your life, and then if you don't mind, moments you might have strayed, how that impacted you. That's really important because we don't understand what those signs are sometimes.
Yeah, very good. So first and foremost, before people check out, because they're like, oh, this is that, hateful Christian woman, right? Before you go there, let me just say that what we're talking about today has nothing to do with religion. I am a follower of Jesus, and there really is nothing more important to me in my life. However, I have been on this earth long enough to see the pain that man-made religion has caused. And so I guess you could say it's like a personal mission to be the kind of person that shows that isn't necessary. That's not the way to do it.
Yes.
That's not the way to go. That when you are so hung up on my way is the right way and the only way and all of that kind of stuff, we push people away, we cause pain that's not necessary. And if you really study the life of Christ, he met people where they were. He found out what was the greatest importance, what was the greatest pain in their life, and then the conversation developed from there. And so that's my heart, is how can I build a connection with someone and help alleviate whatever pain that they're in. So that that's where we're starting today.
Great.
Yeah. So Jenny, you may have to prompt me just a little bit, because that was a really big, long question. And I felt like that was an elephant in the room that needed to be addressed before we really dug into more of the context and content of what we're talking about today.
Yes, yes. And the second part of the question was everyone is great at talking about the benefits being faith-based. If you don't mind my asking you to share stories or a story of when you strayed from it and what effect that was on your life, what type of quality experiences you had, if any, when you did not adhere to your faith-based background.
Okay. So I will give you actually two stories. And the first part of it really isn't the story you want, Jenny, because I was raised in the church. I've been a Bible believer from day one. I was baptized when I was like 12. Jesus has always been a part of my life, and the church that I grew up in, for a long time, I felt like it was a negative thing, but they taught you how to be a good person, right? And so I grew up most of my life, and and I knew how to be a good person. And for the most part, I made good decisions, and I was kind, and I was nice. And I still didn't really know who Jesus was or anything like that, until I got older. The thing, though, it's not about a deviation from faith, but the thing that most people don't realize is there's two sets of people in the world. There's the, or I guess I should say two types of Christian. There's the Christian who's been through the thick and the thin of everything, and they feel disqualified because of the things of their past. Then you have that group of people who didn't do all of the things, didn't have those big T traumas that we're talking about, and they feel disqualified because they didn't have any big T traumas. So why would anybody ever listen to them? And that's the group that I tend to fall into, is the group of people that made the right choices, never did the partying, never did the whatever you can imagine. And so for me, the struggle comes in never feeling like I really ever belonged anywhere, because people wanted to be around me until my belief system kind of like was a mirror reflection of what they didn't see in themselves, or it pushed their boundaries. They wanted to go do this thing, they knew it wasn't right, and they can't have Natalie around because she's gonna judge them and everything, blah blah blah. And so it's a lonely lifestyle, and I don't talk about that a lot. Actually, this is about the second time I've talked about it. It's only the second time that I've talked about it. And so it's that it's not easy living on this side of the fence either. And if I think about one of the times really that I did stray a bit, was really right after I started my business. And that was coming up on 9 years ago. And God had called me out of a job as a clinical nurse educator for a healthcare organization, been in that job for almost 20 years. And God called me into business. And I was like, okay, God, here we go. Let's do the thing. Right. And I was so excited and so optimistic and looking forward to the future and what God and I were going to do together, that I said yes, and I took off running. And I kind of left him back there. And I started making the investments, and I was doing the things and hiring the coaches and all those different things. And then it wasn't until, Jenny, about probably 2 years ago, that I really realized what had happened. And God revealed to me, he said, that was your Ishmael moment. That was your Ishmael moment, because he he had told me, I have a plan for you. I have legacy for you, right? Just like he did Abraham and Sarah with Isaac. Isaac was the fulfillment of God's promise. But because Abraham and Sarah were so old, they didn't think it was going to be possible for the two of them. So Abraham went and slept with his concubine, and Ishmael was born. It was wanting to help God fulfill the thing God said he was going to take care of and do, but it wasn't happening in our timeline. So we're just going to help God out, and we're going to take over, and we're going to do it for him. And then things just spiral out of control and go downhill, right? So same thing for me. Like, I had a very successful business, but I realized I'd left God in the past, not in the past, but kind of in the dust, if you will. And I was doing things as if I were doing them for him rather than with him. And fortunately, he revealed that to me. And so I was able to start correcting course because I don't know if you've ever had that experience of hearing. There's a couple different ways that it happens, but if you've ever literally heard the voice of God, or if you've been in prayer and had that deep, deep knowing that, whoa, that was God right there. Like you want that every second of every day because there is such an awe, if you will. There is such a profound sense of love that washes over you in that moment. And sometimes, quite honestly, like sometimes like it's a spanking, it's a correction of something that I've done wrong, but yet it's done in such love and such revelation and such wonder that it's like, I want this every second of my life for the rest of my life. And so when God really started becoming real and present and giving me downloads and direction, I'm like, I don't want to take another step without that. And so it started to shift the way I did business. It started to shift the way that I work with my clients. And it's now evolved into what I call the spirit-led entrepreneur. And that's the new brand that we've been releasing and moving forward with our clients.
You're just giving me shivers, honestly, like real talk, really seriously, because I don't know the audience knows, and I'm just gonna remind them. When we immigrated to the States, the only communities we had was one particular one. It was a Chinese, they call it the Chinese Bible Evangelist Church in Waltham, Massachusetts. And it was one of the only places we had community. And in that church, they intertwined a lot of Asian values with being Christian. So and part of that is you don't question your elders. And I grew up not having a lot of questions answered. And when you're a child, you want your questions answered because we don't quite understand what faith is. And I
Mhm.
loved your sharing about how, I was one of the people who just, it was comfortable. I was Christian through and through, you could say. And I didn't really ever really doubt it. And then you realize later on, right, that you actually, when you embarked on business, you didn't bring that forward with you.
Mhm.
I really want to say, folks, we all have gone through a big T. Okay, we are all survivors of the pandemic and the lockdown, COVID. I call it the panini now because everyone has different definitions about what's happening. So the big P, not the big T, the big P has involved all of us. We've all gone through it.
Uh-huh.
You all are survivors. So the adage that we never, I've had people say to me, well, I haven't really suffered. I'm like, yes, you have. You're now a survivor of this global event that is now down in the history books. Okay. And this is the reason why I want to have this retreat because we are at a pivotal moment. The world is actually shifting its axis. More and more people are aware that we're not the only ones here. And we're connected to something way, way bigger. For me, when I became a Jewish person by choice, I never stopped believing in God just because I walked away from the church. I was voted most likely to marry your pastor's son. Your mouth is dropped open. I'm telling you now. I was baptized by my own personal choice at 12.
Mhm.
Okay. I was gonna end, certain things happened. The adults chose, my opinion now as an adult, poorly in how they handled those situations. And children see truth sometimes. We can't make sense of it, but we see the truth sometimes. And if adults aren't around being guided in how they answer, you can lose people from our places of worship because we just want some honesty, basically. And for me, what I've really truly enjoyed having, I've been Jewish for over 30 years now, 31, 32 years, is how this check in with a power higher than me keeps me feeling safe no matter where I'm going, even if it's not really a safe other type of situation, right? And I'm not talking about just going down a blind alley, even though sometimes that is really important. The adventure of life requires you to have your safety nets. And I'm gonna put it out there. Having faith in something bigger than you is going to be one of the defining things that get you through. The world's on fire right now in so many more ways. And sometimes we, as a human, even though we are of infinite energies, if there isn't something to help us tap into it, we run out. We're just human. Right? We're just human. I'm sorry. Like, we're really cool. And, and I think a lot of people who become Olympic athletes, they move the world. It's not just because they have this, what is it? Who's that superhero guy? With the heart thing that doesn't, I'm losing the Marvel hero guy, whatever his. I'll come to it. I'll remind him at the end, and I'll just tack it on to the end of this recording. My point, though, is I just really love the way you said that, because when we're in doubt, it actually will impact how you affect the world around you.
For sure.
Right? Because, I mean, like, seriously. And the irony of it is, even though you were one of the first overtly faith-led coaches I had, Natalie, I would say 98% of my coaches are now faith-led. I know. She's all people, she's like, what? I'm like, I know. Yeah. They don't talk about it at first.
Mm-hmm.
It always comes up. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What message am I missing right now? Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?